A chill hung in the air as Emily prepared to close down her carnival game stand for the night. The midnight carnival had been a local tradition for as long as she could remember, and working here every summer had become her own tradition. She loved the atmosphere, the colorful lights, the delighted screams of children on the rides, and the smell of cotton candy in the air. But this year was different. This year, something sinister lurked beneath the carnival's cheerful facade. As she counted the meager earnings of the night, Emily noticed a figure in the distance. It was a clown, but not one of the jovial, funny clowns that populated the carnival. This one was different. His makeup was ghoulish, with exaggerated red lips and sharp, sinister eyes that seemed to pierce her soul. He wore a tattered and dirty costume like something from a nightmare. Emily shivered and tried to shake off her unease. She told herself it was just another employee trying to make a few extra bucks just like her. The carnival was almost deserted now, with only a few stragglers making their way to the exit. The clown continued to watch her, a leering smile on his face. She couldn't see his eyes clearly, but she felt them following her every move as she closed up her game. She tried to ignore him, reminding herself that clowns were meant to be strange. It was all part of the act. Finally, the last customer left, and the carnival staff began to lock up their stalls. Emily hurried to pack up her belongings, hoping to put as much distance as possible between herself and the disturbing clown. But when she turned to leave, he was there, standing just a few feet away. "You were amazing tonight," he said, his voice a low, sinister whisper that sent a shiver down Emily's spine. Thank you," she stammered, trying to sound polite while her heart raced with fear. The clown extended a gloved hand toward her. "I'm Giggles, by the way." Emily hesitated, but then reluctantly shook his hand. "I'm Emily." "Emily," Giggles repeated, savoring the sound of her name as if it were a sweet treat. "I've been watching you for a while, Emily. You have a special charm about you, a certain innocence." The words made Emily uncomfortable. She pulled her hand away and took a step back. "I should be going. It's late." Giggles chuckled, a chilling sound that made her skin crawl. "Don't worry, Emily. I'll see you again soon. Very soon." With those ominous words, Giggles turned and disappeared into the darkness, leaving Emily trembling and terrified. The next few nights were filled with dread. Giggles was always there, lurking in the shadows, watching her every move. He never approached her directly, but his presence was suffocating, like a noose tightening around her neck. Emily confided in her co-workers about the creepy clown, but they dismissed her fears, saying that Giggles was probably harmless. They couldn't see what she saw, the way he seemed to follow her with those malevolent eyes, always grinning from the shadows. One evening, as Emily was closing up her game stand, she heard a child's laughter in the distance. She looked around, but saw no one. The laughter grew louder, and she realized it was coming from the funhouse nearby. Against her better judgment, she walked toward the funhouse entrance. The funhouse was dark, its entrance adorned with faded, peeling paint. Emily hesitated, but then stepped inside. The laughter echoed through the twisting corridors, leading her deeper into the labyrinthine structure. As she turned a corner, she froze in terror. Giggles stood before her, his face mere inches from her own. His makeup was even more grotesque up close, with cracks and smudges that made him look like a deranged ghoul. "You came," he whispered, his breath rancid with the smell of sweat and booze. Emily stumbled back, her heart pounding. She turned and fled through the funhouse, the eerie laughter of the clown echoing in her ears. She burst out of the exit, gasping for breath, and ran toward the Ferris wheel. The Ferris wheel stood tall against the night sky, its lights casting eerie shadows. Emily knew she had to get on it, get above the crowd where she could hide, where she could calm herself down. She rushed to the front of the line at the Ferris wheel and asked the operator, Alex, if she could jump on quickly before returning to her game stand. "You don't mind, do you?" she asked. "Have at it," Alex said. With a wave of his hand, Emily quickly climbed into one of the empty gondolas. As the Ferris wheel ascended, she looked down, hoping to feel her anxiety disappear just as fast as she was leaving the ground. But to her horror, she saw Giggles climbing the ride structure, his eyes locked onto her. He must have gotten on after her and started climbing from gondola to gondola, getting closer to hers with every second that passed. Emily's heart raced as the Ferris wheel carried her higher into the night. Giggles was getting closer, his sinister grin never fading. She had no choice but to keep rising higher and higher until she was above the carnival's twinkling lights. She was trapped. As the Ferris wheel reached its peak, Emily began to cry. She had never felt so much terror. She climbed onto the edge of her gondola looking for a way out, but there was none. Just as she had given up hope, she heard a singular panicked scream, followed by dozens more. She looked down from her perch and saw Giggles' broken body splayed across the base of the Ferris wheel. He must have fallen in his pursuit, his sinister grin now permanently etched onto his face. Tears streamed down Emily's face as she realized the nightmare was finally over. She was okay. She inhaled a shaky breath, feeling the cool night air fill her lungs, a stark contrast to the stifling terror she had experienced just moments ago. Clutching the cold, rusty door to her gondola, she let out a sigh of relief, her heart still racing, but no longer in the grip of paralyzing fear. Her limbs felt heavy, as if the tension that had gripped her had drained away with Giggles' fall. The Ferris wheel continued its slow descent, each creak and groan of the machinery echoing like a solemn dirge. Emily carefully lowered herself down from her gondola, her legs unsteady as she stepped onto the platform. The authorities arrived soon after, their flashing red and blue lights casting an eerie, pulsating glow over the carnival grounds. Emily recounted the terrifying ordeal to them in excruciating detail, her voice trembling with every word as she relived the horrors of her encounter with Giggles. Giggles' body was then taken away on a stretcher, draped with a white sheet which concealed his mangled form. As the paramedics worked, a hushed silence fell over the carnival. Its once jubilant atmosphere was now as lifeless as Giggles. The carnival, once a place of mirth and wonder, was now shrouded in a chilling pall of unease. The rides stood still, their bright colors faded under the weight of the dreadful memory that had unfolded beneath the Ferris wheel's twinkling lights. It was a night the locals would never forget, and one that Emily needed to.